Hello and welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express papers Chandigarh edition. Now, from today's newspaper, the editorial and opinion section was of particular interest. And from here, we are analyzing these three articles. So, one is about Draw the Line, which is concerning the recent killings by the Railway Police Force Constable. Right. So we can derive the theme of hate speech and radicalization from here, which is of importance for GS3. Then Fading Green. This article is a critique of the government with reference to the protection of the environment, as the name itself suggests, fading green. And the article is set in the context of the changes to the Forest Conservation Act. Here in this article, we do get points, but we also get important judgments concerning environment. And these judgments are repeatedly there in the news. Sometimes UPSC directly asks us questions about that judgment. Supreme Court judgment. Then the third topic is on SAARC, South Asia Association of Regional Cooperation. So the immediate neighborhood of India. Now, SAARC summit has not taken place since 2014. It is said to be irrelevant in the modern times, in the present times. And the government has also not been focusing much on this thing. And rather, the focus has been on BIMSTEC and the Indian Ocean region. There is a proposal that BIMSTEC should replace SAARC. So here, from this article, we get certain developments that are taking place in the SAARC countries, and because of which the SAARC can again be revived. So there is a possibility in this regard. So SAARC is an important topic. This theme is also there, the relevance of the SAARC, so which can be directly picked up by UPSC in GS2. So here we will get some important pointers for our answer writing. Besides, if we go by the front page, we have the news on cheetah, the riots the rioting that has taken place in Haryana, and data has been released about tigers. So tigers' skewed distribution has come to light. That is more of tigers in one place, right, as compared to others. Then from the international section, the world section, world news, with reference to the Ukraine war, we have Danube River of Europe and the Adriatic Sea, which is in news. And then we can talk about some discovery with reference to prehistoric period in Peru. So again, these things are there in the news. We should read more about this, or at least spot them on the atlas. Then economy, some things about economic data, GST collection. But the most interesting was the demand, that fall in demand for gold in India, which hardly ever happens. So this data is coming from the World Gold Council, right? Something which can be asked in the pre-paper. So these were the things that we are going to cover in this news analysis. Now moving forward from the front page, we will keep going downwards. Okay. So first news is about the cheetah project. So we have, a translocation of cheetah. Cheetah has taken place from two countries, Namibia and South Africa. So 8 from Namibia and 12 from South Africa. Now we know the deaths of cheetahs have taken place. So now we have Supreme Court going into it, and here we have a statement coming in from foreign experts who say that they had serious concerns about how the project is being managed, cheetah project, and they were in dark. So they are telling this to the Supreme Court. Now, talking about the cheetah project comes under the National Tiger Conservation Authority. The reason being, we do not have a specific institution for cheetahs because cheetahs were extinct, so it wasn't possible. Moving on, with reference to the recent violence that has taken place in Haryana. So, a rally was going on between Vishwa Hindu Parishad plus Bajrang Dal. So these people were to travel. So they started with the Muslim dominated area, and within 10 minutes the violence started. Right. So all that tension that is going on. Now here, looking at it from exam point of view, we have a statement saying Yatra management was not at its best. Strict action will be taken, says the Deputy Chief Minister. So this is, Yatra management. Imagine you are a bureaucrat, or a police official after getting selected, that will be your responsibility. So how it should have been managed, what security protocols should have been there. So this is something which can be asked in ethics case study. Right? So this can be prepared, how the situation could have been dealt with. Now we have something on the no trust motion. So for the no trust motion in Lok Sabha on August 8, government gets support of Biju Janata Dal of MPs. Biju Janata Dal is in Odisha. Okay. Yes. Okay. Now no trust motion is provided for in Article 75 of the Constitution, which says that the Council of Ministers should be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Now coming to the tiger data. So we have the latest All India Tiger Estimate. So report has been released. And in this report, it has been come to light that there is a sharp skew in the big cat map, which means 20% of the tiger area has less than 1% of tigers. So this is the anomaly, or this is the skew. Now, naturally, the question arises, why is this happening? Right? This is the issue. Why is this happening? Now, I hope you know by now that this is the responsibility of National Tiger Conservation Authority. So the reason is, out of the 16 reasons, for the reason of low tiger density is lax management, poor protection, habitat degradation, and loss of prey base. So 16 reserves have seen low density. So these are the reasons that are mentioned. So what can be done? We need to invest in protection and prey base. We need to protect the tigers and the prey base, and possibly look at the option of reintroducing tigers in some of these reserves. For instance, I know for Sariska had no tigers. It is a tiger sanctuary, tiger reserve, but no tigers were there. So later on, tigers from other areas like Ranthambore, etc. were moved to Sariska. So reintroduction of tigers can be thought of. Okay, so this is it basically. And here, this estimate, All India Tiger Estimate, is coming from Ministry of Environment and Forest. Now, these numbers are not very important, but what we get over here, if we zoom, we get the names of certain tiger sanctuaries or tiger reserves. So this you can look, there's sanctuaries and associated states. So this analysis you can do, right? So we can have tiger and associated, national reserve and associated state, or national reserve and associated river. So these type of questions are asked in the prelims paper. Now our job is to basically skip the news. Most of it is skipping only. Okay. The road minister Gadkari announces rupees 400 crore for flood hit Himachal, and this money is coming from CRIF, that is Central Road and Infrastructure Fund. So this is the CRIF. So it is for various infrastructure sectors such as transport, comprising bridges, ports, shipyards, inland waterways, then energy, water and sanitation. So all of this is coming under the CRIF. So various modes of transports are covered actually under this. Okay, so if you want, I can share it on the comment section. I'm posting the links these days. Okay. So Road and Infrastructure Fund. Apples are going to be expensive. Apple transportation a challenge in Himachal Pradesh due to closure of roads. Just skip over here. This thing in Haryana seems to be highly political, but for exam point of view, we have to look at it very neutrally over here. You have to prepare the points as to, or riot management. I can actually share from Ministry of Home Affairs. So do that research and share it eventually. Okay, now coming to this article, governor pushes fresh letter to CM with a question and a reminder. So the controversy has been erupting in Punjab. That is, the governor is seeking information from the CM of Punjab on various issues. The most recent is the approval of a scheme known as Atta Dal Yojana, where Atta Dal or the food will be given directly to the people, the beneficiaries. It will be directly delivered into their homes rather than them going to public distribution centers, PDS. Public distribution system actually. Okay, so the governor has sought a letter that I have already asked, you have not told me, and you have come up with this scheme. So there is a provision that governor can seek information from the chief minister. This is coming from Article 167. So if you read Article 167, it says that it is the responsibility of the chief minister to inform the governor about the various initiatives that the government is taking. So this is provided for in Article 167. So we just scroll now. So again, a statement from an MP from Haryana, who's basically saying that this violence that is taking place in Haryana between Hindus and Muslims now. So he's saying that both sides are responsible, Hindus as well as Muslims. So he's saying that they're going for religious yatra, but they're taking weapons with them. So the very idea was of violence or provocation. So he's saying both sides are equally responsible. Now we have Delhi Services Bill tabled in Lok Sabha amid opposition protest. Okay. Yesterday we analyzed this Delhi Services Bill. So this is actually NCT Bill, National Capital Territory of Delhi. So earlier there was an ordinance. Now this ordinance is brought into the parliament in the form of a bill, and then it will be legislated. And we covered basically 3 points over there. So one of them was concerning the sole discretion, the discretion of the governor. So this discretion, the word is now sole discretion. So more powers are given to governor. So that there is no confusion, the word sole has been added. The second one is the second and third one is actually with reference to the National Capital Civil Services Authority. So the constitution of this, wherein the civil servants would be appointed, transferred, etc. for Delhi by this authority, which comprises of chief minister and 2 senior bureaucrats. So definition of the bureaucrats has been mentioned over there. So it is basically the principal home secretary and the chief secretary. So principal home secretary can be the additional chief secretary. And the third point is that this body will give its report to the legislatures of Parliament and the State Legislative Assembly of Delhi, Vidhan Sabha of Delhi. So that's it. Yesterday we got to know, sometime in the evening, that Narendra Modi Prime Minister, was awarded Lok Manya Tilak Award, Lok Manya Tilak National Award. So we ought to know more about this. So this is given on 1st of August every year, which marks the death anniversary of Lokmanya Tilak, Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak. And this is not given by the government, but it is given by Tilak Samarak Mandir. We have a bill introduced in the Rajya Sabha, which is Press and Registration of Periodicals Bill. This is basically with reference to the press. So it is an initiative to make it easy for the press to operate within the country, especially for small and medium publishers. Now coming to the editorial section. So first one is draw the line. By the way, you can get this. I have taken the screenshots and I've posted it on the Instagram channel of mine, IASPrimers. Right, so there you can get this. I'll be posting it subsequently also. Okay. So first one is draw the line. This is with reference to the recent shooting that was done by the RPF constable. Now, draw these lines is basically for the political parties, right? That their conduct of the press had radicalized a person so much that he engaged in violent activities. This is not desirable. So one is this, then again with reference to the violence in Nu also, the communal clashes. Now the major thing is that we have to look at this from exam point of view. So we get from two papers this thing can be asked. So one is GS3 internal security, where we can look at the idea of hate speech. So it's basically hate speech which has led to radicalization. In the case of RPF of a particular person, in the case of Nu, the communal clashes, both Hindus and Muslims, entire communities. So radicalization. So radicalization means a person taking extreme viewpoint on a certain things. Then when a person already is, has taken extreme positions, they are more likely to engage in violence. So the mass media, social media, so that has led to radicalization. Some people are more affected than others, and they in turn indulge in wrongful activities which is harmful for the society. Now, from from internal security point of view, there is this theme that is hate speech is leading to radicalization, and radicalization may lead to lone wolf attacks. Normally, this is with reference to the terrorist associated with Islamic State. Right? So one particular person on his own initiatives engages in violence. So radicalized youth. So some of it go into this. So this is the theme. Although we do not really have a case of lone wolf attack, if one wants to see RPF, yes, but that will be highly controversial. Next is GS1. So society being radicalized. So here we have communalism, right? So communal tensions going on. So if we look at it from society point of view and not security, so we have the issue of communalism. Now coming to the next article, fading green. So the author is highly critical of the government over here. Okay, and this is with reference to the amendment made to the Forest Conservation Amendment Bill. Okay. So let me go with the flow. So first of all, we have the Forest Conservation Act, whose purpose is to protect the forest, conserve the forest, as the name goes. So, and also to check diversion of forest, the forest land being diverted for agriculture, for industrial activities, for residential activities. Okay, so purpose of this was to protect the forest and protect it from diversion. Okay. Then I think in 1976 we have the 42nd Amendment Act, which placed forest under the concurrent list. Right? Concurrent list means it is under the jurisdiction of both center as well as the state. Okay. Now, with reference to the Forest Conservation Act, the Forest Conservation Act provided protection to only those forests which were recorded as forest in government records. So there were a lot of green areas which were not recorded, So those areas could be easily diverted. So someone went to the court and argued for this, that this is wrong. So Supreme Court in this Govardhan case, obviously TN Govardhan must have gone. So in the TN Govardhan case, the Supreme Court widened the scope of forest. So it went away from the dictionary meaning of forest, that is, which is recorded in the government records. It said the forest which is deemed forest. I've written it wrongly. So vegetation which can be deemed as forest. So even that is covered. So now it means the land recorded in the government data plus green areas which may be deemed as forest. So a new legal term was created. So this was seen as a progressive step towards protection of the forest. Then we have the Forest Rights Act. This was in 2006. And its purpose was, Forest Rights Act, that there are communities that live in the forest traditionally. They do not have any land records like people in urban areas, cities, etc. So the Forest Rights Act recognized the rights of the tribals or the forest dwellers of that forest. It was a community right. That was, the entire community lived together. So it was a community right. And it provided for that important, actions associated with the forest resources required prior approval of the Gram Sabha. Their view has to be taken. So Gram Sabha basically means anybody above the age of 18 in that tribal pocket. So the Gram Sabha was to be organized. Let's say a mining activity is to take place. So Gram Sabha is to be organized. Their views have to be sought. So this became an important pillar for clearance of forest related projects. Right. Now, in 2013, in the Niyamgiri case, Niyamgiri is in Odisha, and there is this cave which is considered sacrosanct, that is sacred. So people were protesting some mining activity that was to take place, Vedanta bauxite mining. So here again, the Supreme Court said that it is the rights of the foresters, so the local communities, so was given preference. So we have now two judgments. So one is Niyamgiri case, which provides for rights of the forest dwellers, and other is the Govardhan case. Okay, so these are the things that the government and the Supreme Court has done with reference to the protection of the forest. Now coming to the concerns. So there was an amendment made to the Forest Conservation Act, or actually we can say a rule was made. So one is Parliament makes a law, but there are certain gray areas where the executive can make rules. These are also known as delegated legislation. And delegated legislation in itself is a topic for your GS2. So a rule was passed which relaxed norms of compensatory afforestation. So Forest Conservation Act provides for protection of the forest, that the forest land cannot be diverted. But then we also have compensatory afforestation, which says that certain part of the forest, certain land can be taken away. Let's say for industrial activity, if this land is required for mining or whatever, so this land can be taken away. So double of this has to be brought into forest. So double of this land has to be converted into forest. So this is the responsibility of that industry. This hardly ever happens. So the other alternative is, if they cannot do it, then they should compensate the government into the CAMPA fund. This is again a statutory body for compensatory afforestation. So government has money and they will in turn do it. Okay. So they relaxed, this amendment was made to relaxed compensatory afforestation. It made it a business. Second, local community consent has come down in the recent times. The rules that were made, the amendment to the compensatory afforestation, relegated local community consent to a footnote. That is, the local community consent was required according to the Niyamgiri case as well as the Forest Rights Act. But the new rule said that the Gram Sabha audit, the Gram Sabha's views will be carried out by an independent agency. So this will be independent while the clearance will be separate. So this, that is the taking away of the land compensatory, that will be separate excise. So this implied that the Gram Sabha's approval is not required for clearance. It is not a prerequisite for clearance. Then another change has been made to the Forest Conservation Act, which basically reduces the Govardhan case. So Govardhan case, they said that it had widened the scope of forest and it provided for a new legal term, deemed forest. So the amendment that is being made reduces the scope again to land which is recorded as forest. So rendering the Govardhan case as meaningless. Then we all know strategic project of national importance, which concern national security, near border areas. So for that, the clearance is not required. But this area is within 100 kilometers of the national border. And in fact, 28% of the forests is in that zone. So that will get affected. Further, zoos and safaris have also come under the category of forestry purpose. So imagine zoos coming under forests. Okay, so these are the concerns. Fifth, you can add Govardhan case. Govardhan, that is, land will be only considered as recorded as forest. Moving on to the next article. South Asia is open for business. So this is about the SAARC, and the author first starts that the SAARC is moribund. Moribund means coming to its death or coming to its grave. So SAARC is more or less moribund, and the last summit was held in 2014. This is primarily because SAARC, you can imagine India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Nepal, right? So these countries. So yeah, so because of Pakistan's non-cooperation in breaking in the Kashmir issue, so because of that attitude of Pakistan, India wanted connectivity projects and everything, we could not go ahead. So India said, okay, fine, no need for Pakistan. Let's look at the other neighborhood over here. So SAARC is moribund. But now certain changes have taken place with which we can feel that SAARC may be revived. So there are these three trends that have been summed up over here. So one is the region's new economic openness. Second is Delhi's with vigorous neighborhood policies. And third is support for India-centered regionalism in South Asia. So let us see them one by one. So the first one was economic openness, region's new economic openness. Why is that happening? So it's because of economic crisis which has taken place in Sri Lanka and Pakistan. Both countries were not very open, especially to trade with India. But with the economic crisis in Sri Lanka and Pakistan, of course, is still not interested with India, but they are now open to economic collaboration with the world. They are opening up their economies. Sri Lanka's president had come to India and he talked about trade, investment, connectivity with India. So Pakistan is not doing it, but Pakistan is inviting the Gulf countries and selling the national assets to raise capital. Right, so raise capital because Pakistan is reeling under a debt crisis. The same goes for Sri Lanka also. Sri Lanka also had a very problematic uh, balance of payment condition, or balance of payment crisis. So Nepal and Sri Lanka are more open to trade and investment and connectivity with India. Pakistan is turning to the Gulf. Second is Delhi's vigorous neighborhood policies. So Delhi has been focusing, prioritizing on its neighborhood first policy, plus of economic integration. And because of its pursuance with this policy, now we see our trade volumes increasing with our neighbors. For example, Bangladesh is the fourth largest destination for Indian exports. India's exports to Nepal has also increased. So this is because of the connectivity initiatives like trans-border projects to promote rail, road, energy, power, financial and digital connectivity. Third was India-centered regionalism in South Asia. If you can use this expression, it will be very nice. So it's because of US-China rivalry. US-China rivalry is there. So it's either US or China. So US plus its allies, its friends like France, etc., they are pushing these countries in SAARC to have greater engagement with India. So they are promoting greater economic and technological engagement with India. In fact, there is a mention of a Millennium Challenge grant. So US has a Millennium Challenge grant, under which Nepal has been given $500 million. That will again promote Nepal's energy and road connectivity with India. So Millennium Grant program, right? So this we should know very briefly. So it is a bilateral US foreign aid agency, Millennium Challenge Corporation. This gives the grant. So this is a US initiative. I think that much is sufficient. And it gives money for various things, including infrastructure. And this we know it from the news itself. Right? So we have these 3 points over here. Now moving on to the international section, the world section, the world news. Okay. Ukraine drone hits tower housing Russian ministries for second time in 3 days. And Ukraine is saying more is going to come to you. So earlier Russia was doing, now Ukraine is doing it. Now here, this one, Ukraine to use Croatian ports for grain exports. So Croatian ports on the Danube and Adriatic Sea. So you should know where the Adriatic Sea is. You should also know Danube River, and it passes through which all countries of Europe, especially given the fact it is there in the news. It's anyways important, actually, part of your world geography. So you can see Hungary, Slovakia, Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, Germany, and Austria. And Croatia is also there, actually. It connects Croatia with the yes, this map over here. So you can see. So these are Croatia's over here. Right. So Danube River passes through all of these countries, and it is the second largest river after the Volga River. So let me show you. Okay, you check for yourself only. And Adriatic Sea, you can see. So Danube River's mouth is in the Adriatic Sea. War not an option, ready to hold talks with India. Let's see if relations normalize between India and Pakistan. China will always stand firmly with Pakistan. So recently we had a news about China-Pakistan economic corridor, China-Pakistan economic corridor. So wherein China will push for its projects which were not implemented. So with this, obviously, when China is pushing for it, Pakistan will get more money in that sense. Move over men hunting 14,000 years ago was gender neutral. So 14,000 years ago. So we are talking about Mesolithic, Neolithic societies. I hope you know the difference between the two. Uh, Neolithic is basically Mesolithic people who know about farming, right? So that is the main thing. Hunting and gathering is typically associated with Mesolithic culture. Now, typically the perception is that hunting, these prehistoric people, their main occupation was hunting and gathering. So hunting, killing of animals, gathering is picking up remains. Okay. So there is this idea that men hunted, women gathered. Men, because they are aggressive, they are stronger, so they were more into hunting, while gathering allowed for more time. So women were engaged in that. So they were engaged in gathering activities as well as caretaking. Now, based on an excavation where various Mesolithic tools have been found, so there it has been, according to that survey, it has been found that women were also engaged in hunting activities. So it was gender neutral. Now moving to the economy section. Manufacturing activity eases for second month in July. Eases means it was going up, it has come eased. Okay. So this we know through the PMI index. PMI is not released by the government. PMI is akin to, so one is PMI manufacturing, PMI services. So it is released by International Supply Management Institute, ISM, and S&P Global. So IHM Market. So there are these 3-4 agencies. The important point it is not issued by the government, and it tracks the economic activities month-wise. For example, we are having data of the month of July. Even if it is not mentioned, it is understood from the headline itself. Okay, so it is saying that the manufacturing is eased. However, the momentum is still intact. So as when other economies are seeing a dip, the momentum is still there. So it is still rising. It is only eased. That is, it's not going at the same pace, but it is still rising. The momentum is still there. GST collection rises to 11% to 1.65 lakh crore in July. So yes, so good for the government. Okay. Touching a record high, Ural's volumes boost India-Russian oil imports. So Ural's volumes is basically Russian oil is coming from the Ural region. This was the article I was talking about. Why has India's gold demand declined in April-June quarter? So it declined by 7%. Why? So the World Gold Council is saying, the World Gold Council is basically an association of gold mining companies for market development for the gold industry. So they are saying this is primarily because the rupee is depreciating, dollar is appreciating. So gold is primarily imported. Now because dollar is appreciating, or value of rupee is coming down, because of this, the gold prices are going very, very high, and therefore less interest for gold. Now we have the explained section. I've not read much over here. So one is about WHO report on tobacco control. So it's basically applauding India's efforts on dealing with tobacco and having this huge, 85% of cigarette packs carry this branding that tobacco is bad. Then it is also for the OTT platforms that, all OTT shows that we have, Netflix, etc. They have to give warnings when tobacco is being consumed. Then there is a mention of second-hand smoke. So second-hand smoke is when other is not. You're sitting in a room, one person is smoking, other is getting affected by it. Okay, what is carbon capture and storage? Can it cut emissions? So first of all, let me tell you, carbon capture and storage is basically an approach of compressing the CO2 and then storing it into rocks, in natural sites, so beneath the earth. So taking first extracting the CO2 and then putting it into the earth so that it is outside of the environment. So this is a part of initiatives associated with climate engineering. So one of them is carbon capture and storage. Another term associated with carbon capture is carbon sequestration. For example, putting in a forest, etc. So they sequester carbon from the environment, and we have these plants. So with the photosynthesis that happens. Climate engineering, besides the carbon capture and storage, it also means having green areas, having measures to reduce radiation. So that is also part of your climate engineering. Coming to the last one, sub-categorization of the OBCs. So after 13 extensions, Justice Rohini Commission has submitted its report to address distortions in the quota regime that has been allowing certain castes to corner the bulk of the benefits. So what we understand over here is, obviously, like there is a scheduled caste, OBCs, etc. So within the OBC group, there are multiple castes. So presently the reservation is only for the OBCs. So anybody with the OBC certificate can get the reservation. So what happens is certain communities keep getting the benefits of the reservation. A community has benefited. Now their children also have the card. They are all again benefited. While the other communities, maybe for whatever reason, they are left behind. Maybe economically they are worse off as compared to those who got benefited. So they have lesser resources. So why should this certain castes only get the benefit? So that is again exclusionary. So the idea is that we should categorize reservation depending on subcategorize it so that these who have gotten should not, while others should get. So that is what Justice G. Rohini Commission is about. By the way, Justice Rohini was from the Delhi High Court, a retired judge.